Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing with our episode covering World War One, primarily the causes which led to the war, and the most popular theory which is maintained is the unfortunate assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophia while they were visiting Sarajevo in 1914. 28th June was the unfortunate date, and within a month of this assassination, the world war is were, the European powers were at war, and how so many got engaged was, as we discussed in the last chapter, the complex web of alliances, uh, military competition, a sense of nationalism, and long prevailing imperialism. However, this incident is widely believed to be the cause. However, we are here debating today whether it was an incident which led to the war or it was the primary reason. So, we start with the assassinations and the perpetrators behind this assassination. And primarily, it was a young Serb named Princip who fired that fateful shot which killed the Archduke and Franz Ferdinand. But the story goes back a little long, as we will discuss in the next slide. While Princip pulls the trigger in 1914, we start our footprints of that fateful day from 1901, when a secret society was formed by the young military officers from the Kingdom of Serbia, which was now known as the Black Hand. Its motto, as of 1911, had become unification, or that showed its extremist side. It was a secret military society, and it was formed by a gentleman, which is, you can see in the center, Dimitrovic, and he was referred to, his name is Apis, which is inspired by the ancient Egyptian bull god because of his physique, that made him distinct in terms of his personality. So he was a career military officer. While it was formed in 1901, the aim of this was to unify the Slavs, which later on formed the Yugoslavia, that comes from the Slavic term, and Serbs wherever they are, and they were inspired by the unification events in late 19th century, primarily of the Italy and the Germany, and that was a driving force. But that was truly by all being a very very extremist outfit. In 1903, what you see on the right corner is the picture of King Alexander and his wife Draga, and they were considered to be pro-Austro-Hungarian, and for that, Apis, along with a group of officers, they stormed the royal palace of Belgrade, and then it is a very interesting episode that a gun battle took place where Apis himself was wounded with three bullets, which were never taken out of his body. It's a long, long story of how finally they managed, after almost the operation was termed a failure. It was near dawn when they were able to find the royal couple in their secret hiding place, and then they were not only murdered. That shows their extremism. As per accounts, They were stabbed, they were thrown out of the second floor and humiliated. And for that, the regime, the reign changed, and the next uh, kingship came to the rulers who were more tilted toward Russia than Austro-Hungary with the Slav connection. So he was the perpetrator, the man behind the entire thing. And with this, he rose significantly within the ranks, and by 1911, uh, in fact 1913, he was the head of the military intelligence for the Kingdom of Serbia, and his aspirations were fueled by the annexation of Bosnia by Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1908, and there they found a chance in 1914 to assassinate the Archduke Franz Ferdinand during his visit to Bosnia in Sarajevo. And as per our understanding, uh, the other organization that we will discuss, the Young Bosnian, of which Princip was a part, it was their plan, and uh, however, they were quite immature, very young, ill planned, and lacked resources, as we will discuss Princip episode. And for that, Dmitriev or Epis, they organized the network which provided them with the weaponry which was used to assassinate the Archduke, which included 5 Browning pistols, 6 grenades, and poison to take their lives, avoiding any capture. So this is from where the journey starts back in 1901. So here we land to the other segment, which is an organization, which is a local organization called Young Bosnian, and one of its devoted member, the mysterious Gavrilo Princip. You can see his picture on the left while he was undergoing the trial, and his statue that is present at Sarajevo. Then it is the capture from the trial underway. One of his pictures from earlier time showing his physique, a very weak person in terms of build-up, and lastly the plaque which is placed on the place where that unfortunate assassination took place, 20th June 1914, which is engraved Gavrilo Princip. He is a mystery. However, if I sum it up, he was a devoted uh, freedom fighter, and he is a story of a struggle. And what else to show here is that he lived for 24 years from 18. He was born in 1894 to a very poor family, and he died in 1918 while he was in captivity. Died of tuberculosis due to harsh conditions, and at the time of his death he was merely 40 kgs. He did regretted the killing of Queen Sophia, uh, being something that was not intended, but his life story is very inspiring if you view it from the perspective of how things turned up. So his primary inspiration came from an earlier fighter with the name Zerajek. Now, he was a person who attempted to kill the governor of Bosnia, and uh, after that, he took his own life. and he became a symbol of this young Bosnian organization, which was formed of students who wanted to get rid of the Austro-Hungarian uh, annexation of Bosnia and the surrounding territories, which were primarily Slavic and Serbs. And the composition is quite interesting of this young Bosnian. Even the 7-man assassination team, which undertook that assassination on 28th June, it was formed of the Serbs, the Croats, and one of them was a Muslim as well. He was also part of the team. And not only that, this man was a mystery. During the Serbs war, which is known as the Balkan War with the Ottomans, twice he went to enroll himself, and twice he was rejected for being too weak physically. But what was inside him, that flair, it was destined to do something so tragic that the entire world will go to war because of that. It won't be the prime reason. Again, this is what we emphasize. It is one of the incident. So, just to show you his struggle, uh, he was devoted because where the assassination was taking place, there was no running away. They were carrying the poison. In fact, when he was captured, his initial action was to swallow that cyanide pill, but it was unable to kill him. And that's why he survived and went on trial. And some of his accounts, now it's very difficult to separate legend from reality. And that showed that he was, since 1912, he was very active in strikes by student groups against the Austro-Hungarian Empire. In one of such strike, he was severely injured, and then he was at the forefront that he was expelled from his education career, which we could never complete. I believe the max he did was the 6th grade. He was broken without any money, and for the first time, when he traveled to Belgrade from Sarajevo, it was a journey of 280 kilometers that he did on foot. And upon reaching the Serb soil, he kissed it, so devoted with the passion of independence and love for his homeland. And the annexation of Bosnia in 1908, that was something which you see as the catalyst to this extremist behavior that is reflected in this episode and the previous one as well. Even whoever the Serbs majority in that entire Balkan were really against this annexation, and that was something which was exploited by the Russian Empire, having its Slavs link, and for that it became such a big issue. So while he was in Belgrade, one of his friends showed him the clipping from the newspaper, which basically announced the visit of Archduke, and from there he gathered his weapon that we earlier discussed, how Apis, being the head of military intelligence, and his network, they arranged the weaponry for them, and then they smuggled back from Serbia into Bosnian territory. As per account, he traveled via boat. Then the group got separated. Initially, there were 3 assassins, and later the other 4 were recruited, including that Muslim member of the group as well. So that's him a mystery. As per the legend, he is a terrorist. To this day, he is seen as a terrorist, and there is no denial that actually it was a brutal murder of Franz Ferdinand and his wife. Uh, the the entire episode is quite complex. Rudolf, in 1889, the original heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, who committed suicide in a suicide pact with his lover, he was seen as a reformist, someone who had his hand on the nerve of the several nationalities that lived under Austro-Hungarian rule. He was a devoted traveler and he was writing anonymously. Same is seen for Franz Ferdinand as well, that someone who was ready to listen to the voice of the Serbs. In this assassination, somehow eliminated any future diplomatic solution of Balkans. And then, of course, what we have from the day of the ultimatum or the assassination in 28 June, and by 23rd July 1914, Austro-Hungarian had issued the ultimatum to the Serbian government, and it carried 10 points. The Prime Minister at that time of Serbia, which by many account, if you see this entire episode, is someone who is primarily unaware of this entire episode, and it was FSN's Black Hand network that initiated, like a state within the state. They had the resources, they had the anger, and they had the urge of taking out anything of this brutality. So he accepted 9 of the demands. One was not accepted, which was basically the inclusion of Austro-Hungarian investigators into the investigation that was being carried out by Serbia of the people who were involved. That was rejected, and just in 3 days the war was declared by Austro-Hungary. So, as discussed earlier, it is, if it is concluded, so in terms of the Balkans, it was something which erupted the entire spectrum, and from one end, with the heir of the throne lost, the Austro-Hungarians, they came up and they declared war. Russians, owing to their Slavic sentiments and connection, they came to safeguard the Serbs, and then the entire complex web of alliance, it activated, and in no time, without anybody calculating, the entire European powers in various continents were at war, and for 4 years, who knows, up to 10 million people were lost. That fire which Princip, that fatal shot that Princip took, it ignited that that explosion which is known as the First World War. But it was again one of the incident, not the cause. It is an incident, and it was a local incident. That is what we conclude out of this discussion for the students, and for that reason, the last lecture we tracked the long fuse from 1815, from the Congress of Vienna, how its interpretation or the new order of Europe based on balance of power that got fragmented in one way or the other at various stages, and it was inevitable. The war had to happen. It was something which was on the cards. Only this thing proved to be that fatal incident. So I will continue with our further lectures in coming weeks. Hopefully, you will enjoy it. Thank you very much.